Good afternoon. My name is Joan Jennings. I'm the chair of the Public Art Committee. It is Wednesday, February 10th at 2 p.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Marissa, can you call the roll?
Ms. Jennings,
Here?
Ms. Gregory,
Here.
Mr. Meals,
Here.
Ms. Robinson,
Here.
Mr. Sallow,
Here.
Mr. Stackhouse,
Here.
Ms. Oberlander.
I guess she's absent. Mark, do we have any virtual attendance?
We do have one public in attendance.
Okay. Has everyone had a chance to read the minutes of January 13th? I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the minutes.
I move.
Second.
Second.
Is there any discussion, comments, corrections? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Minutes are approved. Okay, we have an artist proposal from a David Danforth. And Diane has provided us with a handout. Mr. Danforth had previously submitted some ideas to the PAC for murals in December of 2019 for a project that was canceled. The designs he submitted and the proposal are to be considered for the city-owned trash enclosures. So I don't know if you've had a chance to look through them. I think he's got a very distinctive style. It looks like it's all marine life, very bright colors. Okay.
Mr. Danforth is actually on here too, if you want him to kind of talk about his
Oh, okay.
proposal.
Mr. Danforth, welcome.
Thank you. How are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
I am
Would
awesome.
you like to give us an overview of what you're proposing?
Yeah, I've been talking with Jacob back and forth for a while about getting some local art. And I think some of the ideas that we've had there are pretty good. I like the fact that some of them are interactive, meaning as guests are there, they can take pictures, share it to social media, help kind of spread some awareness of getting people wanting to come to the area. I kind of also was just going to give a little background of myself and how we've grown. We've done 3 magazine covers this past 2 years. Been in a total of 6 magazines, but 3 covers we've been featured on. We currently just did a deal with Yeti using my artwork so that any of the new brick and mortar stores for Yeti in Florida will also have me custom painting their cups and coolers for them. So the name's getting out there, and I'd love to be able to put a stamp of me, in the local area that I grew up also. So I grew up in Tampa Bay area, fishing it and camping and being outdoors and going to the Tarpon Springs with my dad as a kid. So this one also is kind of a sentimental project, not just a regular project. And I'm also here and all ears if anybody has any questions about the proposal or bid too.
Okay, perhaps if you could go through what you're proposing, the goals and specifications. I know it's printed out, but I think it might be nice to hear it from the artist himself.
Yeah, so the goals outlined, there's 4 spots that need attention. Sunset Beach dumpster on the north wall. What that project would be an underwater scene of tarpon, snook, and redfish, which these are native fish to the Tarpon Springs area. The second goal would be Sunset Beach dumpster on the west wall. That would be a beach scene with the Anclote Lighthouse, another local landmark. Number 3 would be Sunset Beach bathroom wall. This is the interactive wall that I was talking about that I had spoke with Jacob. He said he wanted something interactive. And so I would like to paint the scene of a boat catching a tarpon and then have it so that it looks like whoever stands on the bow is actually holding a fishing rod fighting that tarpon. So you can move in, get your picture, move out, and then take turns. So this way it's people are having fun with that art as well. Last, golf course dumpster. That would be tarpon scales, the entire wall. And I also added mock-ups. I'm sure you guys have a picture of, to give you kind of an idea of what it would look like. Some of these, the tarpon, snook, and redfish on the mangroves that I spoke about, we don't have that yet because I will be making them here in the studio, and then we'll scan it, and then we're going to have it installed with vinyl. And that way too, you know, if someone comes and tries to damage it, it's going to hold up a lot better being vinyl versus paint. The vinyl also stands up to weather and abuse a lot better than just painting on the side of a building. So that's why we kind of chose that route. Specifications in the pamphlet, we have the measurements and the price per square foot. We're using a local company that'll install the vinyl artwork, and they're using a special material that's meant for brick outdoor use, not just like a metal, or it's used for a rough texture. So that way it holds up and prolongs the life of the art.
Do you know the name of the vinyl company?
I do. I've been talking to the installer, so I've got her information.
Because I know that there's a local company in the Tampa Bay area that did the applique for the Christopher Stoll mural on the Chamber of Commerce building. I was just wondering if it was the same company.
I don't have the name here, but it was, I asked Jacob Carr for a couple recommendations of local people that he would know that were reliable and that he had heard good info. I can get that info for you guys. I can email it over shortly.
Okay. Diane, do you remember the name of the company that did the application?
I'm texting her now too, the rep, so we'll see how.
Okay. I'm going to beg everyone's indulgence, and I think Diane will beg with me. We both had our second COVID shot yesterday, so I'm a little whoopsie.
Oh,
Okay. As usual, the ugly liability issue raises its head. And are you aware of the insurance requirements?
so I've read through them. I can, if you want me to get the insurance, I can go ahead and get the insurance. Usually if I'm doing a project, it's on site, but because I'm doing it from home in the studio, I can also get it, but also the install company I talked to yesterday, they have insurance because they're going to be on the job site. Their insurance covers making sure that the job is completed and to your satisfaction. It also comes with a 1-year warranty through this company that they guarantee that if anything has an issue, they'll come out and fix and repair it too.
Okay, because one of the issues we've had in the past with a lot of these projects, that even though it was using the applique process, the artist still needed pretty extensive liability insurance. I just wanted to make you aware of that, and perhaps we could, you could discuss that with Diane at a later time.
John, I did mention that to David
Okay.
when he submitted his proposal and everything. And what we decide is that if the Public Art Committee does approve this project, that we would ask the city attorney, Tom Trask, what's the best way to do the contract.
Right,
So.
okay.
But
Right.
he
I
did,
just wanted to make sure he was aware of the insurance requirements.
he is, thank you.
I
Okay,
am.
okay. Does anyone have any questions of David?
So-
David?
I do have a question. Is this going to all be vinyl or just the last project that you're proposing?
All 4 of the walls,
They're all vinyl?
correct.
So is that up to the company to procure the insurance if they're installing it, or is that up to the artist still?
Most of the companies that install those appliques are already bonded and insured.
Correct.
But the question arises about the insurance for the artist as well. That's also, I mean, that this all sort of got hashed out before you joined the pack.
Yes, ma'am.
So we're all painfully aware of it, I'm afraid.
So he would have to hold insurance even if he doesn't physically touch the wall?
Correct.
Okay.
And as Diane said, that would be worked out with the city attorney.
Okay. So in the specifications, the 8750 is apart from the 3000, correct? These are two different numbers? Right.
There's a total.
Yeah, the 8750 would be my fee for materials to do the artwork, to create the designs. The additional 3 is the quote from the install company to install all 4 locations.
So do you have a price breakdown of each individual project, since there's 4 of them, for your cost, time, materials?
Yeah, they averaged around 2,200 each, roughly. If you want to itemize, I can itemize that and break it down and email it to you guys. As far as material, labor, cost, time.
Well, I was thinking just in case we did break it up, if we decide to do 1 or 2, we would kind of have more of an idea of what it's going to cost.
Okay. Yeah, I can itemize that per wall. Again, it'll be a little bit different because there's, as far as the install, my price is around the same to design those. The install price would be different because it's per square foot, of course. And some of the walls are bigger than the other.
Also, is this art going to be sold and displayed anywhere else?
Most of it's exclusive, since they're custom. The only one that would be sold again would maybe be something similar to the tarpon scales, because I sell my artwork naturally. I sell the tarpon scales as a print, or maybe a coffee mug. I don't know. I haven't went into production with that yet, but the other ones are custom drawings. So no, that would be fully exclusive.
Okay. I think that was all my questions on that.
Trish? Okay, Bill?
What about the preparation of the surfaces of the different locations? Is
That's with the install company. They come prep it. They've also went to the locations already and looked at them just to get an idea of what the surface was like. That way they know the right and proper material to order that would tack onto it strongest.
okay? Because I know that they vary in their degree of needing some attention before you put a vinyl on it. So good. Okay.
Yeah, what they had mentioned basically, I don't know 100% of what their procedure is, but I know it's probably going to be power washing, sanding rough edges off, making it smooth, and prepping it for the install.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Lucianne? Nothing? Robert?
No, I have nothing really.
Okay. How does everybody feel about doing 4, 3, 2, 1? Any strong feelings about?
I like the idea because I've been wanting murals on these for a long time.
Mhm.
So I like the idea.
Yeah, I like the idea of having a unified style.
Yeah.
Done by, in this case, one artist. I mean, it was different if we were using, students and that kind of thing, but if we're going to, hire somebody who's a professional, I think the unified look really has a, positive connotation.
I do too.
Diane?
I was just gonna mention that I think it's smart to do the vinyl because of the elements out there.
Mm-hmm.
And, I just feel like that would really stand up really nice with all this, the sea mist and everything out there. So
Mm-hmm.
that was a good idea.
Right. I just found the name of the company that did the Christopher Still, and it was Speed Pro. Did you approach them at all, David?
I have not. If you'd like me to, I can.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, if it's not a problem, just getting another quote because it's a
Yeah, but could you say that name one more time for me?
Speed Pro.
Got it.
Okay, and they're in Tampa on McCormick Drive.
Okay.
Because, they're a known quantity. We know they do a good job. So it might
Okay.
be, get a quote from them.
Yeah, that's doable.
John, I have a question.
Sure, Robert.
What's the longevity of these vinyl murals?
David, do you have an idea on the longevity of the vinyl appliques?
I do not. I had wrote them a few of these questions before the call this morning, and I think that they're on our project right now because I'm not getting the answers quickly. As soon as I get those answers, I'll add that. I've been taking notes of things that needed to get circled back to that I didn't know the answers to, so I'll add that along with a quote from a second company from the Speed Pro 2.
Okay. I believe when they put the Christopher Still mural up, they were talking about a minimum of 10 years.
Did they say anything about the color fastness of it? I mean, under our brutal sun, it can do an awful lot of stuff to pigment and things like that. And in vinyl, I think that's the issue with any kind of mural. You have an impermanence. If the vinyl lasts 10 years, that's a pretty good deal then.
Yeah, and that's what I like about the vinyl idea, because once I vector these images so that they can be blown up to these large formats, if in 10 years it gets time to do maintenance on it, you don't have to have me come back in and what if I move out of country? What if, something happens and people like this mural? Well, that company has it on file and it's easy for them to reprint and install the same thing. So it's securing it for a longer time doing it this way versus hand painting, especially like you guys were saying for abuse. Hand painting and putting clear coat over something with salt, sand, sun, that's way rougher to deal with versus something like this that can be reinstalled as it's needed over a 20, 30 year span. So that I like that idea a lot too. So I'm a big fan of that. But I'll get some of these extra questions done that I didn't know. And who should I email all of these answers to? Diane?
Yeah, everything goes to Diane. She's our
Okay.
point person. Yeah.
Okay.
And under your milestones page, it said you will work with representatives from the city directly. I assume that would be.
Yeah, Jacob, Diane, and just to make sure that the project's going in the direction that they like.
Okay. If I was looking at the scale wall, would it be possible for the committee to request another design, especially since you seem to be using that on other projects?
You can, however, I haven't used it yet. It was a thought to use it. If that bothers you, then I don't have to use it because I paint for a living. So if there's another design that I want to use, I can just restart. So I like the tarpon scales idea because it's tarpon springs, tarpon scales. I mean, I like that one a lot. So I wouldn't be opposed to saying, hey, I won't use that image if that makes you guys feel better about the decision.
Well, personally, I like the colorfulness of your other images. And, again, talking about like a unified look. And I
Okay.
think scales kind of throw that off a bit. Does anybody else have any strong
Which one
feelings?
are you talking about?
It is in a different
This one.
location.
Oh, okay. No, I don't like that.
Okay. Does anyone else have any strong feelings about the images? It looks like Bill?
Yeah, just I agree with the scales not being maybe the right location for, or the right piece of artwork for a golf course. So
Mhm.
it'd be I'm not trying to point you in a direction, but something fun like, should I golf or should I fish?
Right.
That type of thing where, I don't know.
I did send you guys, I think 20 or 30 designs that have not been used that are my recent ones too. And I think there's 4 or 5 tarpon in there. So feel free to look at them. And if there's one that you think would be really good at that location, send it to me and we could swap it out also.
Okay, so I guess everyone could look at the designs more in your leisure and send your ideas to Diane after the meeting. Does that make
I like the different, like this wall with all the different things, because we have the ibis, we have the herons, we got,
Mhm.
different fish, and I like the colorful and the difference
Right.
of them. They're not all the same.
Yeah, no, I like the colors and the vibrancy of them.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
Robert?
Yeah, I have a suggestion just as an image that could be appropriate for the golf course, and it's maybe I'm being a little tongue in cheek with it, but the shark.
Well, I
I
didn't
think
hear it.
The shark image. I
Oh,
think
that's
most
excellent,
golfers
yeah.
would really identify with
Yes,
that.
that's correct. Yeah.
Of all the fish,
Yep.
that one has double meaning to it.
Yes.
Yeah, agreed. Yes, okay,
That-
we've
that's
got,
a
we've got
very-
David, Trish, you like the shark for the golf course?
The shark.
Yes.
The Mako.
Yes.
Yes.
And something specific about that image, guys, it has a white background. It's not hard for me to add, so like I don't know if you can see, everybody can see me now, but how most of my artwork has like a neon abstract color background. If you want that added to the shark, that's something that I can do also. Or you could have it as a white background. So just know that if there's designs that you like, I can manipulate them and I can change them and get them ready for print. So I can adjust images. So if there's something you love about one, but you wish it looked like this, I can adjust it. So that way it would fit what everyone thinks would work well.
Okay. Well, I think we have kind of a consensus. Thank you, Robert, and the other golfers of the golf course. And, maybe some of the other fish.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure everything that I sent you does not have a license on it, and it could be used. So take your time to look at that. I think I have a few more images too that are new that I just had finalized. I'll send a new email to Diane and I'll add all of that into it. New images, life of the install, how long does it usually last? And then last but not least, a second quote from Speed Pro.
Okay. Okay, and are you also aware of the Public Art Ordinance that kind of spells out, copyrights and usage and that type of thing?
I can recap it.
Okay, yeah, that might be a good idea. So when, Diane goes to the city attorney, you'll have a better idea of, what we're dealing with.
I was
Diane,
just
I'm
gonna say,
sorry.
one of the things that Tom Trask will do is he will go ahead and create the contract, and then he'll send it to Mr. Danforth, and then they can go back and forth with any questions or whatever to make sure that, everything is agreeable on both sides, before Mr. Danforth would sign it, kind of thing. So.
Right, and then it would come back to us and then to the commission, correct? Okay. I'd like to entertain a motion to continue discussion on this project. Trish, second. David?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Danforth. It looks like we're going to continue the conversation on your project, and thank you for joining us today.
No problem. Thank you, everybody, and have a good day. It was nice chatting with you and get to know you a little bit. So hopefully we can get this going and replace these ugly walls with something that's attractive and everyone loves. So I appreciate the opportunity. Have a good day.
Send you our weather.
Yeah, please.
Okay. We're moving on to old business, the Illuminated Art Boxes. Again, just to recap, the 15 boxes have been installed. Maybe we should consider the next phase of installation. I know Lucianne has been mentioning a couple of different sites, possibly along the bike trail or elsewhere. We had discussed in the past doing the QR codes. I worked with Diane and Alan from UPS to do just an informational insert to replace Theo's image on the sponge docks. Diane's showed that, and I think everything's rolling along. So when that goes up, and that will also direct people to the brochure her staff did that has all of the description of the paintings and the artists. I guess we have to look at the QR codes, and I've been thinking about how to put them up. It would have to be, you know, like one on either side of the pole because the images are different. And okay, some of the boxes seem to be unlit. I spoke to both Mark Licouris, and we seem to think that since they're all clustered at the west end of the sponge docks and they were the last boxes to be installed, they might have been put up by another crew and not properly connected. So he's going to have that looked into with Tom Function. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that that's the easy fix. It just seems odd that it's just that little cluster at the west end. All the rest of them seem to be functioning fine. How does everybody feel about another call to artists for the sponge docks and/or the other 5 boxes installed elsewhere? You think we're ready for that?
You mean to change out the current art?
Well, to consider it anyway, you know, if we put out a call to artists, I mean, last time it took a few months to get everything.
Yeah, but it should go a little faster now. I would
Right.
think. Since we have the boxes and all it takes is just changing out the
Right.
art.
Right.
So it's only been up for what, a month now, or a
Well,
couple of months at the most?
right. Well, all I want everybody to do is consider it. I mean, we could put it out for a month or two, but, you know,
Right.
just to keep it on our menu that we're looking to perhaps,
Yeah.
you know, change them out in the not too distant future. David, you look
Do we,
like you
do we
have.
have a targeted date when we're looking to swap everything out? Or, I mean, what are we thinking that the cycle was going to be? And maybe we could start to look at that cycle and
Well, that's a good point of discussion, actually, Bill. Because I mean, last time we were just, you know, just trying to get everything up in time for the holidays
Right.
on the docks.
right.
So now that everything's up, maybe we could become a little more
Yep.
organized about, you know, creating a cycle.
Well, we had so many setbacks. We had planned a time limit and when they were going to come up and when we were going to change them out. And
Right.
But it took so long to get them up, it just spoiled our whole time.
Well, it took so long to even
Well,
receive them.
I
That was
know,
one of
the
the
whole
big
thing was
problems.
delayed so long. So
Right.
that kind of, you know, we need to start over with the time frame,
Right.
I think.
David, you,
That's what my question was, if it was going to be quarterly or every month, or, and then if they're going to be changed out at the same time, like all of them,
I think,
in that sense.
again, as I said, I'm still a little loopy. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was supposed to be like every 6 months?
Something like
think
that.
so.
It was, I don't.
I think we were
yeah,
talking
probably
twice
so.
a year. I
Twice a
believe.
year?
Yeah.
Talking about, you know, we're talking about a lot of money. I mean, if we're paying the artist $100, you know, for this art, and then we change it out. We have, go through it again. So it could be expensive if we just, unless we spread it out a little bit further. And I think 6 months is plenty long enough to.
Right. Well, the
keep it
thing
on.
is that, remember that the vinyl inserts can be reused. The decal can just be peeled off and another one applied. So it's the cost of, updating them is not going to be, that awful. But we don't want to, overdo it either. But, and I know there's always a concern about whether there should be any holiday themed images. Lucianne, do you have any thoughts?
I'm just thinking we probably ought to time it when Mr. Function's staff isn't beset with all kinds of other stuff, and maybe just time it so that we're off prime time with them.
Okay, that's,
But I like a 6-month interval.
right.
I do like the ability to have some type of time to figure out which ones we're going to put in there too. So we'll have a discussion on that.
Right. Yeah, because I think it's, first we have to, create the call and then give the artists enough time to submit their work. And then, as you said, to go over it.
Then we have to vote on it. and,
Right.
approve,
Yeah.
so it takes-
What was
it's a
that time
process.
limit last time? How long did it take? I
It
know
took-
you,
I think it took 2 or 3 months easily.
Months,
So,
yeah.
Yeah, 3
it
months.
took a while, yeah.
Yeah.
okay, so the latest we would do that is next month then, do a call to artists, since
Yeah.
it's about 3 months.
Does that sound good to everybody?
Yeah,
A
I
call
think
to artists
so.
next month?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I don't know. Diane, do I need a motion to do a call for next month?
You all seem to be in agreement with that?
Yeah.
Okay. And also just one, just a side note, this was a custom piece that you all designed, these illuminated art boxes. So I think it would be good for them to be out there for 6 months to test them and make sure that they, are
Right.
working properly, because based on what the manufacturer told us is that each part has a warranty, kind of thing. So, just to make sure that, it's all working properly, before, and that won't affect the artwork or anything, but if you all entertain to possibly order more for another place, it'll be good to, just test them out, I would
Right.
think, but,
Well, if we send out a call to artists and we give the artists a couple of months, maybe going into June and then using, say, July into August for the selection process, and then September for the printing, that would give us October, which would be about a year from when they were first put up. Does that make sense to everybody?
I think
I
so.
think
That's
went up in
good.
December, didn't they? It seems to me. 'cause it
Yeah,
hasn't been
but-
that long. Yeah, but that's, yeah.
Yeah,
that would
okay.
be- yeah,
Because then
would
that would probably, to reinforce what Lucianne just said, might hit Tom Function when I know he's always terribly busy, but he might be less terribly busy, in
putting holiday-
October.
Direct decorations and things.
Right, yeah, because it would be before the, the holiday installations.
I'm sure he'd appreciate that.
I'm sure he would. Okay, so just to reiterate the timeline, we'll send out the call in March, perhaps after the March PAC meeting. Give people 3 months for submissions. Vote on the accepted images in July and August, and then have them printed in September for installation in October. Okay, great.
Print in September and
Yeah,
Install
installed
in
in the
October.
boxes, right. Okay, and then I guess the other question is, let's start with David again. He's in the catbird seat.
That's right.
How do you feel about another location? Because we do have the 5 extra boxes.
I think perhaps at the beaches, could that be a thing? Because those places are traveled pretty heavily.
Mhm.
Do we have light poles? I haven't really looked, but I'm sure there's light poles out there. I mean,
Yeah,
I haven't been out there and focused on that particularly, but that would be a good place. Yeah.
maybe like I think there were poles on the entrance to Sunset, along the driveway into it.
I'm sure there has to be.
I'm trying to remember if there are poles on the way there.
We could go out there and look, but I think you're right. And were we talking about, we could not put them up on the trail on Safford because of, it's a county road? Was that an issue? I mean, we talked about that.
Well,
What did you
I
decide?
don't think, and again, I'm going to excuse my memory here. I don't think they could be put on the median.
Right.
Lucian's
Light
concurring.
fixtures are on the side of the street where the backs of those businesses back up
Mhm.
on the west side. I was on the trail just the other day and noticed that there are the big, heavy concrete light posts. I don't know if they'd work there.
Mhm.
I assume they would.
Yeah, I think they can go anywhere. It's just a matter of changing up the
But that's,
band that ties them to the poles.
so where the light poles are is city property rather than county.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I know that, we were talking about getting things other than on the docks. Bill?
Well, it seems like the three locations that we potentially would have would be the beach area, which is Sunset. We've got Craig Park.
Right.
And we also have, I'll call it the little square there where Safford and Tarpon Avenue.
Right.
It's kind of like the center of a
Yeah.
lot of things. So,
That might be
I think any of those three would be appropriate for locating them. I think it just, whatever works best with what stand poles are there.
Right.
To attach them to.
I think Martin Luther King is also a very heavily pedestrian trafficked
Mm-hmm.
way. I'd like, maybe that can go into the mix, but I haven't really looked at where the light poles are there.
Right. You're going east-west or north-south along the bike trail, like the intersection?
I'm
On
thinking
MLK.
about the east-west
Okay.
stretch of MLK.
What about one down by the dog park or something? Are we trying to spread these out or put the remaining 5 in one location?
Well, the thing is that they seem to have the most impact if they're clustered. But I don't think, I personally don't have a problem with just putting one here and one there.
Mhm.
And again, it's just a phase. I don't know if, we would even consider getting more of them. And that would, perhaps fill in. In other words, maybe put one on the beach, one on MLK, one on Safford, and then maybe purchase some more down the road and fill them in a little.
Are we, I maybe missed something. Are we thinking about lightening up a little bit at the docks and moving those someplace? Or are we keeping all of those at the docks?
I think we'll keep the ones at the docks. And
So we have 5 extra ones?
we have 5 extra. We ordered 20 and we installed 15.
I
Robert?
think a cluster works.
Yes.
I'd like to see them stay together.
I think, the nature of these light boxes is they are illuminated, right?
Correct.
So they need to be put in a place where you're going to have pedestrian traffic at nighttime.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what time does Sunset Beach close?
Sunset.
Also, who's going to be out on the street after dark? This is not a walking society anymore, except, down by the docks or right on
Or downtown.
Tarpon
Right, yeah.
and Safford. So, that intersection of Tarpon and Safford has a lot of street traffic.
Right.
And it has a lot of pedestrians there, and there are light poles. So you could go, you have only 5, but you could go down, you could go either north and south on the bike path, which would encompass that. If you had a few more, you could go east-west up, so you could cover some of the nighttime locations.
Right,
And because you get too far down Safford towards the dog park, it gets dark down there. I mean, I know I have a studio on that
Right.
street, but it is there. There's a new brewery down there, but I don't know how late they're open. And going south, you're going to run into those apartments eventually.
mhm,
So there is potential for north, south, east, west on that corridor, because you're going to have nighttime pedestrians, and it does get dark around here pretty early.
yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, and the thing is about Craig Park, one of my pet peeves is light pollution, because there's a lot of nature down there, the manatees and, all kinds of creatures, and I don't want to upset any, balance of nature by putting additional light sources down
Well,
there. That's just my,
the thing is, you have to search for these even on the docks. I mean,
Right.
I had to look for them, and there's so many other things that are in the way of them, or saying, look here instead of there.
yeah,
But once they get established, people might start looking for them.
mm-hmm. Okay, so we're looking basically at Tarpon and Safford with a look to MLK, possibly. And,
Can I mention one thing too?
oh, sure, I'm sorry.
I
go
was
ahead.
just thinking, like, maybe I'll also consider Orange and Lemon, like where the library is, and then Orange from like South Pinellas going to, what is that, Park or whatever in there, because there's all those restaurants in downtown, but it's like off of downtown, but it's also very walkable for people,
Okay,
I don't know, so, I don't know.
okay. So, but does everybody feel that we should at least think about doing the next phase with the 5 we've got?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I guess the other thing too is perhaps the most efficient thing would be to incorporate whatever art we're going to need for the next phase with the general call to artists. And then just have, 40 selected images instead of the 30. And then we can, we'll have a few months to decide. Everybody could go out and do drive-bys and find out what the best location. Lucianne?
Yeah, we got a whole lot of submissions from a few artists, and so we had a discussion and decided to limit submissions to 1 per artist.
Correct.
But I think we ought to go for 2.
Okay, that makes sense.
Just to give artists a little flexibility in what they want to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, also, from what I remember, and hopefully it'll be better the next call, especially with the Art Association, because I'm going to fuss at them. But we didn't have that many really good selections, I didn't think. I think we need more art, I think too, I think you're right, because we didn't have enough, I don't think, to select just 1 from each artist. That's what I call good art. I don't know, that's just my feeling, but yeah, I agree, Lucy. I think that's probably a
Okay,
good idea to allow them to have 2 pieces.
right, so it would be a 1 or 2 images per artist.
Right,
Correct, okay,
No more than 2.
right,
yeah.
okay. Yes,
One thing I might suggest is that if you give me a list of all the different areas that you're considering for the second phase, I could then give those to Tom Function, and then he can go ahead and vet them to make sure that there wouldn't be any problems with the areas that, you are looking at. And that way it'll kind of speed that up for you, and then you could vote on the ones,
that makes sense, sure,
So let him look at them,
okay,
because he looks at it differently than we do.
yes. Okay, well, I think that just about does it for the art boxes. The Christopher Still mural at Advent Health, that's still in progress. Elizabeth Indianos, the Cultural Center mural, I think we're looking at a completion in March. And I guess we should perhaps at the March meeting discuss some kind of ribbon cutting or press release. Diane, you
Mhm.
would be the
Yep.
person to headline that. So I think it's definitely deserving of a splash. Okay. The Sponger project. I spent a morning with Annie Dabbs. She's the president of the Rose Hill Cemetery, discussing the Black heritage of Tarpon Springs. And we were talking about expanding the projects conceptually to include other phases of Black contributions to the community. And I was thinking about somewhat similar what Lucienne is doing, which she's going to discuss in a minute, is to set up a committee for community outreach to get the temperature of what project and media would appeal to the residents. Does that make sense to people? Lucienne?
No,
David? Trish? Bill? Okay. Okay, I'll continue to work on that. Diane, Sisler Field murals.
Yes, we have 3 artists that are interested in doing the mural.
Nice.
I've received 1 proposal in its completion and expecting the other 2. So for your March meeting, you will have the 3, and maybe there'll be, 1 more. It's not February 26th yet. So, they still have a little bit of time, and I'll probably throw it out there on social media one more time, just to, say, your time's almost up, please, So that was exciting, to get those. So you'll get that for your March meeting.
Okay. I guess somewhere along the line, I don't know whether I can foist this off on the guys, but some of the artists were asking for the dimensions of the building. So I don't know whether, I emailed Tom Funchen, but I never heard back from him.
Yeah, I'll check in with him again.
But I don't know if
Think about measure it if you need it.
yeah, no, sometimes I think you can even get an app on your phone where you can, even measure it that way. But thank you for anybody who would give me a hand with that. Okay. Bill and David, the recycling containers.
So we received an email back from Tom, correct?
Mm.
And what, do you remember that date that he was saying?
It's probably, usually like it's in a budget cycle, so things are usually finalized in August, for budgets, with procurement, and they would be ordering probably around August.
Right. And I think that in his email, if I remember correctly, he said that we could kind of buddy up with him or tag up with him to put the art on the boxes. So I believe that'll save
great.
us a
And I
lot
don't know
there.
that he limited how many containers we could, I don't know that we've really talked about how many different locations, but he seemed open to
Right.
multiple locations and for feedback as to which would be the best.
Right.
He said that they were like 2.5 by 4 feet, as far as their size goes. And I thought that they were not put in very public places, but he said that yes, they would be. I think it kind of depends on the city's budget as to how many they'll order. We probably won't know that until August. So we'll have to let you know then, about, how many there be. Then you could put the call out for the kids.
Okay. Okay. Now on this one, are we sticking to the $1,000 and under fee, or are we just doing children's art,
That's up to you all.
guys?
I guess we're open for feedback from the committee.
So one
David?
thought is just like the Illuminated Art Boxes, perhaps we could do something like that, or biannual or quarterly to where we replace the art in there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that could be a thought.
Okay. And like a $100 stipend type of thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, if the target is, the younger
Mhm.
population, maybe a location for it. We've talked the beach, the Sunset Beach. We've also talked maybe around the schools there on Golf. Might be a good location, but one of the elementary schools that's high profile.
That's a great idea.
And with that, do you follow it with a program through the art classes at the schools to really push for some young artists to come forward and get their art published in the community? I don't know.
I think that'd be a good idea.
Yeah, it's always exciting when a young child has something done with their artwork,
Yes.
Right.
other than the
Exactly.
refrigerators.
Well, then maybe you could give a donation to, if they do that with the schools, we'll have to talk to Tom Trask. I don't know if we can do public art funds for that, but it would be nice to be able to give the donation to the school for art supplies or something,
Mhm. Okay, yeah, that's something,
We'll have to check that with Tom.
right. Any other discussion on the containers? Sounds like everything's in hand.
No, pretty much going to be dependent upon what the contract, so wait and see.
Okay, now for the plum. Lucianne.
Yes. We are continuing to have discussions with the property owner's daughter, and through her, the property owner, and Lynn Whitelaw, who has been an invaluable member to this committee. He has advanced the conversation simply because he knows so much about the history of the site and has been able to suggest ideas. I have passed along everything that you all have sent to Diane, and those have gone directly to both Lynn and the property owner. And I think all of your ideas, as specific and or general as they have been, have helped the project become more real to her. And with that have come some questions, some very real practical questions about using her private property. There is some concern about parking, and that, installing anything on that property is going to become an attraction. And so her concern right now is how much public access there will be, whether that will infringe upon her own privacy and her use of her home and its surroundings. So we're talking, we're going slowly, and just trying to build an awareness of what the project can be. I don't expect something to pop up even in the next couple of months. I think it's going to be a slow process, and it needs to be. So keep coming with your ideas, because everything I'm able to pass along moves us a little further down the track. So please, and thank you so much for everything you all have done.
Well, and the committee is you, Lynn, and,
Catherine
right, Catherine.
Diamandis Holman
Mm-hmm.
is her name. I think maybe as we get closer to an actual call for artists, we may add one or two committee members who have some specific expertise in sculpture or whatever, whatever direction it seems to be moving in. But for right now, we're still very conceptual. And
Has there been any discussion with anyone with the city based on the traffic around that particular area? Because it's a very interesting intersection. And what I'm thinking is there might be some answers to the homeowner if we get some guidance on the intersection itself and can delineate the area that we're talking about, either with curbing or some other means. But I think it's going to take someone to look at the traffic pattern there to make sure that, we've got an idea of what the city would want to see.
who would that be, Diane?
It'd probably be Bob Robertson, right, or maybe Renee with the permitting and things like that. I'd have to ask And you'd have to give me specific questions so I'd know who would vet it. I don't see what the traffic pattern has to do with the property. I'm not following you, so maybe you could.
Yeah, the
Craft
intersection, if you
something,
take a
Bill.
look at it, it's pretty interesting. I mean, it's got some cut throughs and it's, you know, and I think we want to make sure that that's laid out well. And again, if it delineates the actual project area that we're talking about, I think that could be helpful for the property owner to maybe get over that obstacle of how's this going to affect me personally.
Robert?
I walk my dog by there a lot. That's mostly who goes by, a dog walk recently, and cars zooming by. And that's at a V. There's two roads. One goes into Innis Drive. The other one is Kramer. And they're almost the same place. And cars can come in and out almost at the same place, along with cars trafficking along or traveling along Riverside. So, and that's a main drag, that's a main road. There's always cars on that. So it is a difficult place for any kind of attraction like that. It's almost more a drive-by location than a get out of your car and visit location, because there just is no place to park unless you're going to be on somebody's yard, because the roads are not developed enough to have parking or anything. Is that your feeling with that? And
Yeah.
is that the homeowner's feeling?
Yeah.
I would think so.
I pulled off on the west side of Kramer today when we met.
Yeah.
There's a nice big parkway of grass, and I was able to safely pull off there. But I don't know that isn't the property adjacent. And
yeah, it's hard to tell there, because some of those properties are really big. They extend well beyond the houses, and you don't know what's city, what's private. So it's just, it seems to me to be, it's a complex little area.
It is.
And it's very visible though. I mean, it can be very visible. It could be with the right approach, but it's complicated in the other way in that it's privately owned. And whatever you put up there has to be possibly removed at some point.
Yeah, it has to have the potential for removal.
Yeah.
So,
Unless they offer it to the city to buy it or to lease it. There's been a lot of situations where museums, I've been involved in a museum in Tennessee that has a sculpture in its, one of our sculptures in its collection, Carol's and mine, in a public park. And yet the museum owns the sculpture. So in order to work it all out, the museum leased the public park land for $1 for a year, 100 years. And a lot of municipalities have that kind of arrangement. The art museum in Chattanooga, Tennessee, is being leased $1 a year $1 a century from the city. So that works out all the insurance stuff and whatever goes on and maintenance requirements and things. But that's something that would, if you could do that, if you could lease it for 100 years, then you could go more permanent probably. But, does the city want to lease it? Do the owners want to lease it?
it's an interesting concept that bears further examination. So maybe that's something that could be discussed with the city attorney, Diane?
Yeah, I think Lucy Ann's going to put together a list of questions, to send to him. So
Right. Yeah, just approach them
we
all at
might wanna-
once.
about leasing versus, the other discussion was whether she would deed a portion of the land.
I'm
And she's
not
not
sure
very
that they would
open to
be-
that.
want to be bound that.
Right. So, yeah, again, I guess it's all a discussion, ongoing discussion.
I know that the suggestion was made to deed that part of the property to the city, and that is not going to happen.
Right.
But Robert is right, you know what, because that is such a pass by, you know, with the traffic goes by so quickly. I mean, whatever you put there would have to be something that would be, you know, explain itself, basically, you know, like people wouldn't be able to pull over and stop and read something, you know, they would have to be, you know, large enough or, you know, self-explanatory kind of piece of art, you know, of why it's there, you know, kind of thing. So it's going to be interesting to see what
And
y'all come up with.
It's a question of, let me say, civil engineering as to whether that is an attractive nuisance to passing traffic. I know that in some projects we've had, you have to have a civil engineer talk to you about sight lines, about how you're blocking the view from the traffic coming from the other street. So you've got to be able to have an awareness of what's happening on another street. So I don't know whether this would complicate that in its civil engineering phase of things, which is different than structural engineering. And but it's something to be considered with putting public art in a traffic zone, because it could just attract unwarranted attention that could cause an accident.
That's true. Okay, I understand now what Bill was saying, and now that you've said that, yeah, okay, I understand the questions I need to ask.
Yeah, you have to know the site pretty much. You have to sort of see it.
It's unusual.
Yeah.
It's an unusual intersection.
And it was obviously built there to put up a big sign saying, come buy some houses or something.
I still think it's very viable. It's just, I think we need to take that component of it before we get too far along.
Yeah.
And again, I think that's going to help the homeowner. If, again, I'm looking at some sort of delineation of the area where if it's curbed and it's marked no parking, or some of those things that you can manage the vehicles
Right.
and how they flow around that area. But it's complicated when.
Okay, any other further discussion? Lucianne, do you have any other?
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you for your hard work on this. Okay, the next item is a handout from Diane. I think we should be very proud of the fact that we got quite a few mention in this, Diane. It's the newsletter, the January newsletter for the Florida Association of Public Art Professionals. Diane's really gotten the call to artists out. It was on the front page. There's a little blurb about the Illuminated Box Tour and the 2 Glenna Goodacre installations. So Tarpon Springs really showed up well. Okay, new business, and I guess Diane also gave us a handout on,
Oh, that's later.
is the
Sorry.
new unsolicited artist proposals,
Um,
the suggested procedures?
oh, let's see, timeline. I think that was something you wanted to bring forward for this discussion about new
Right.
people. My handout's for the city announcements.
Okay. I think unless anybody else feels strongly about this, I think I'd like to just defer it to the next meeting. David, Trish, do you have any strong feelings about dealing with it today? Okay. The next one is a little more weighty. Discussing in addition to the ordinance to the effect that any public art project or municipality-funded artwork that is being considered for removal, including painting over an art piece like a mural or relocation, the person must first notify the Public Art Committee as to its removal or relocation and get permission.
I would definitely agree to that, for sure.
Okay. Trish?
I agree.
Okay, Bill?
Absolutely.
I'm trying to think of a circumstance where that would happen.
It would, let's say that for whatever reason, somebody decided that they were going to, well, I guess it's not that much of an issue since we're working on city-owned property. But let's say that for whatever reason, the city wanted to paint over one of our projects. I think we should at least be given the courtesy of a notification. And just not drive down the road one day and see it's gone. And, it's just like, Diane made sure everybody knew that the story time was in for
Oh,
restoration
yeah.
and that they just didn't go for a walk.
I think there's a potential. Murals sometimes are on the sides of buildings and they're an empty lot.
Mhm.
And that empty lot liable to get built on. And then there's a mural that's blocked
Mhm.
and it doesn't work anymore. I mean, that's an urban problem.
Oh, yeah.
Does this call for the artist being notified? It should be in the contract, I imagine, but the artist should be notified.
Yeah, but basically, I think it's in the ordinance that once an artist is paid by the city for their artwork, the city owns the rights. But
should
again,
be-
we're talking a courtesy, so I agree.
Yeah, it should be a courtesy, and there has been litigation
Mhm.
in, bigger money than what we're talking about, but there has been litigation about that, about the unnecessary removal of art or whatever it is. I mean,
Mhm.
there isn't any contract that can't be be broken.
Right. So, is there any discussion on the wording of this? Is it clear? Is it?
Okay, it's talking about notifying the PAC, but also that we have to give permission to do it.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, how much weight does this council have?
Yeah.
I mean, to say, no, you can't do that.
yeah, exactly. So what happens?
Well, the only thing I was thinking about is if perhaps it was a piece like a sculpture would give us the opportunity to relocate it. If somebody wanted to move it,
First refusal for the artist in a way, like
Right.
they can buy it back.
Okay.
But
Why don't, I think everybody's in agreement that we should do something like this. But why don't we give it some more thought and bring it back next month?
Yeah.
It also would have to probably be vetted with Irene Jacobs,
Right.
the clerk of court, because she would be the one who would write it in to the ordinance, and then would have to go to the BOC for approval.
Mm-hmm.
So we could, talk to her about it, I could mention it to her, and we could, bring that back at the next meeting if you'd like.
Yeah, let's definitely defer it to the next meeting. Thanks,
Okay.
Diane. Okay, now we have the wandering mother and child next on the agenda.
Well, I love St. Kate Art, but they're not the best at responding very well. I usually have to reach out to them about 3 times before, or threaten them that I'm going to go get another company before I get them to give me an answer sometimes. But they do great work, and I have every confidence in them. But, they have done the maintenance on the naiads, and they said that was in good shape. Everything looked pretty good. And then they also did the Anna at at Craig Park.
Mhm.
They did not repair it yet. they're going to come back and do that, but they were just commenting that, like the second coat that they put on and everything of Alma really brought out even more beauty, in the statue. And then never in my wildest dreams, I don't know why, I guess, just ignorance of, what needed to be done. But, for story time, I just expected them to work on the,
Right.
the statue right there. Right. And so when he told me that they took the bench, I go, you did what? He goes, yeah. He goes, we need to, we'll go ahead and store the statue in the cultural center, and we're taking the bench because we got to do all this stuff to it. It's like, oh my goodness. I said, I kind of needed a couple days to prepare the public and to prepare everybody in Tarpon. All of a sudden they see their beloved story time is missing in action. It walked down to the main library, right? So anyway, it was comical, but it also made me panic because I knew that the city was going to be getting some phone calls going, hey, what's going on here?
Right.
But I think it was, for the most part, averted. And they were explaining that they needed to take off the current varnish, and then they needed to go ahead and stain it well, and then put, like he said, 6 coats of this particular,
Wow.
protectant that he had, and that he wanted it to be in their storehouse so that it could dry properly and cure.
Mhm.
So I think it, based on what he told me, it'd be out for like 7 to 10 days. So possibly
that's
by
not
the
bad.
end of next week, I think we'll probably have our mother and child back.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then I wanted to ask you all, are you going to bring back the discussion of of the murals, the Danforth murals for March, and vote on it then after he gets the information back?
Right.
I just wanted to check just for so we'll know how to put it in the next agenda.
Well, he should be communicating with you, and if you get
Mhm.
anything from him, you can
Okay.
disseminate it and, give us some more thought about it.
And then as far as city announcements go too, probably the Public Art Committee will be giving their annual state of address to the
Right.
BOC, probably late April, May.
Oh, okay.
So it'd probably be a good idea to get some of these things up and done. So we have
I
lots
actually
of
started
great
working on it
pictures.
this morning.
So, and like I said, Mark LaCouris will make that the final decision. But based on what we did last year, I'm guesstimating it's going to be around the same time.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, because last year it was the end of June, so it's a little earlier. This
oh,
year.
well, the way they have a lot on their agendas, so sometimes that'll get pushed back, but I just wanted us,
Yeah.
to be aware and ready. And then the final thing I have is that, I was thinking about all the wonderful things that you all are doing. And, I also, wanted you to think about, how many different types of public art there are out there. So I was just having fun one day and, decided to just kind of download a whole bunch of pictures and just put them in a handout for you all, just so you could be thinking about maybe some new projects, moving forward, because I know you're planning, the rest of the year and into the next one. So maybe this will give you some, ideas of some really kind of interesting places that you can put some of these things. Because I thought that some of those things that were out in the water were kind of neat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like something like seagulls and that one kinetic art where it would turn with the wind and everything. And then I thought the kids paved a path on the third page was really kind of neat too. That they could run around in Craig Park or one of the other parks, and just follow the pathway. And that's something nice and calming for adults too.
Right.
Then there was like a little selfie frame where kids can pose and,
Yeah, no,
so,
these are very clever.
so
I'm
just,
still mourning the demise of the Pelican project.
I know, but
That
we
would have
could,
been,
wouldn't that be cool to do it out in the bayou, kind of
Yeah.
thing? Be kind of neat. Looks like it's just like some some peers. It's just really
Right.
very interesting. All it takes is money and time, right?
Right, and an artist
Yeah, right. Money,
who
time, and an
doesn't
artist.
disappear right now.
Yeah.
He's
So
he's
anyway.
probably communing with the story time couple.
There you go. So anyway, I just wanted to put those out there for you to
Mhm.
think about.
Yeah, what I was thinking about too is the possibility of an open-ended call to artists for, just kind of ideas for, innovative projects like this. If somebody could just kind of send us some ideas of, something that they might be planning, I think it would be interesting.
I've looked at some things, with different cities, that different cities calls to artists are doing, especially on the West Coast. They seem to be doing a lot on the East Coast of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And some very interesting things, like for instance, they did a big treasure chest and sank it in the ocean
Mm-hmm.
with another wreck because it's going to proliferate coral, and
Right, yeah.
it's a tourist diving site. And I thought, we have one right off of, Tarpon here. It's the military one where people can dive
Right.
and see. And I thought, well, that's kind of cool. We could do something like that,
Mhm.
here too. I mean, maybe that's how they should recycle some of the old Greek sponger boats. It's kind of like put them down there and create
Right.
a little park or something. And then, I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, with COVID and everything else, I think there's a lot of, health-oriented recreation, like kayaking and scuba diving and stuff like that people can do, on their own, without being in, exposing themselves. So that's really a good idea.
And also Anclote Key. I mean, people
Right.
go out there, you have to get a boat to go out there, but it wouldn't be interesting to put some sort of kinetic piece out there.
Mhm.
Just,
Yeah. Dave, do you have any ideas? You're nodding your head and looking sage.
Oh, they're all great ideas.
Yeah.
I'm looking through
Yeah, they
these.
are.
It's,
They are interesting. I love
Yes,
the
they are
one with
very-
all the birds. in
Yeah.
the
Right.
water. Yeah.
so basically, if you guys like something on one of these pictures, we can use this as, as a sample and put a call out to artists and say, we want something that moves, we want something blah, 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 it's colorful. And this is where we want it, and this is your budget.
Right.
But, and Robert can maybe speak to this a little bit more, but, I think it's very helpful for an artist when they know kind of what their budget is, instead of leaving it very open-ended. Would you agree with that, Robert?
It's the number one question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can have the greatest idea, and if you're 2 zeros off from what the other person thinks, you're not going to get anywhere. And it's just those zeros, those darn zeros keep
Right.
getting in the way. So yeah, it's somehow it could be interesting though. It could be an open call, open budget, and see what you get. You could get something. Well, you saw in the paper today, the flamingo at the
Yeah.
that only cost $500,000, which I was kind of surprised about. I mean, that's a glass ceiling up there,
It's huge.
and
Yeah.
so that's an impressive piece for. People are going to really love that because it creates the underwater experience and stuff. But that's $500,000, but you aren't going to get those kinds of requests unless you have it open. And just say, whatever your budget, what do you think your budget is for this? And then maybe there's somebody out there who wants to invest in it.
Right.
Problem is,
But
we only
it'd
have
be
so much in
interesting
our
to see what
budget.
people would do.
Bill, you have any?
Yeah, no, those are fantastic ideas. I mean, I love the ones with the water. Whether it's at Craig Park or out at Sunset Beach, I think,
Right.
we've got wonderful opportunities to take advantage of that.
Lucianne? No comments? Okay. Does anyone have any, I think we already have some ideas for the agenda. There were some items that were deferred. Anybody else have any suggestion for agenda items? Okay. The next regular meeting is, oh, city announcements?
That was it, mine.
Oh, okay.
Again.
Next regular meeting is going to be Wednesday, March 10th at 2 PM here. And do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I move.
Trish, second? Bill? Okay, we are adjourned at 3:19.
Righty.
New restaurants opening at 4. I go, you want to try to go to the bistro if it opens at 4?
You understand what my question is, because
Yeah.
that's going to help, we can put curbing up and parking and.
Mhm.